Hey guys, I'm Kyle, Kyle Kua. I graduated from UP Diliman back in 2018 and from Business Administration and Accountancy. I was also part of JMA, and it's good to be back with you guys. I was in the Fin team, Fin for the win. And right now, I am actually working in a startup called PDEX, the Philippine Digital Asset Exchange. So I work in the finance team, handling this corporate finance, accounting, treasury work, and the management of the assets, as well as the audit as well. Um, right now, I'm glad to be part of your J Masterclass, talking about personal finance. So I guess in the next 15, 20 minutes, I'll run through some tidbits about personal finance and how to manage our finances maybe back then in college, all right, as you guys are in college right now, and maybe even in moving from college to the business world, right? How can you manage your finance well, save enough, while at the same time still spend, I guess, efficiently, right? So let's see where we can get in the next few minutes. Um, I'll share my screen and my presentation. Here we go. So today's topic will mainly be about two things, right? When we talk about personal finance, one is I'd want to explain to you guys what are some 5 easy steps of managing your finances as college students. Things I wished I knew back then, and things that I continue to do even today. How to manage and budget your spending, and making sure that it's a portion of your total inflows, your allowances as well. We'll break through the 5 items, and then later on we'll have 30 come in, and we'll go through the whole process, the step-by-step process with them. And then secondly, we'll go through a simple practice of making a personal balance sheet. Most of you guys may be business students or econ students, and you might know what a balance sheet is. But it's basically a list of all your assets, and most of us don't have debt or liabilities, so it's just list those assets. And it's pretty simple to do, but it's good to have that high level, bird's eye view of your assets even as early as now. So let's go on and begin. Okay, so the 5 steps of managing finance for a college student, right? It's broken down. I would say whenever I would talk to my friends and they'd ask me for advice, or even my office mates, these are the 5 normal steps I would tell them. I never made a presentation, but for this purpose, I made a simple slide for you guys. And this is normally what I would tell them. First 3 buckets is really understanding where you are. Right? Understanding where you are, how much inflows you have, how much outflows you have. Don't think about how much you want or where you want to be. Just think where you are. And then the last 2 buckets, setting the goal and solving the adjustment factor, is bridging the gap from where you are to where you want to be. So think of it like that. And the first 3, identifying cost buckets. Second is calculating monthly spend. And the third is calculating monthly inflow. All of these are just understanding where you are right now. And then the 4th step is setting the goal, and that's where we want to be, right? And the 5th step is solving the adjustment from where we are to where we want to be. How do we get there? Right? What adjustments do we need to make in our spend, in our income level, to be able to get where we want to be? So just simple 5 steps, and I'll run you through each one right now. And then later, we'll have 30 come in as well. So step 1 is identifying the cost bucket. This is a really simple question. You just have to say and ask yourself, what do you currently spend on now? What are those buckets? Right? Food, shopping, just the top level items, right? Recreation, transpo. Like for me, I would say it's food. Under food, there'll be like sub buckets, like food individually by myself, with friends, with my girlfriend, spending out on dates, and with family, right? And shopping, right? In case you shop for items, especially nowadays with Shopee, Lazada, and e-commerce. Recreation, like maybe if you would play basketball and pay for the court fee, right? Transportation for gas, commute. maybe not so nowadays. But list those like top level bucket items. Don't think about the amounts or quantities yet. We'll go with that in step 2. Right? Just those items. As you list them down, just try to think of the sub items under each, like what I did for food. Right? Because it doesn't mean that you spend for food for this amount. There are different classifications for it as well, that you spend like different amounts for each type of food or restaurant or experience you go out with, when you're eating alone or with friends or with someone, with your significant other. Right. So now that you've listed these cost items, the main buckets, the second step is about calculating how much you spend monthly on each of these buckets, right? And the simple formula I would encourage you to take up is the cost for that for that item multiplied by the number of times you eat or you do that certain task in month, right? So how much do you spend monthly for each of these cost buckets is a question. An example is for food, right? Maybe you eat 30 lunches in UP back then in a month. Again, you have to pay for it. You calculate, then each lunch item would be maybe 100 peso budget for the meal plus like a C2, right, or a drink. And from that 100 pesos, you multiply that by how many school days are there in a month, maybe like 22 school days, 20 school days. So 100 times 20, that's 2,000. And you do that for every single item. And you do that, for example, for shopping. Shopping could be a bit less structured, wherein you just say, I want to purchase like 4 carts in a month, and each of these carts I'll give myself 500 pesos, right? So 500 times 4, maybe 2,000, because I want to shop at least once a week. And then you do that for everything, right? When you've listed all down, you total up the sums, and you get that number. Let's say after you added it all up, and you go out on dates, you go like 4 dates a week, and you spend like 500 pesos for each. That's another 2,000 peso item. And you add it all up though, with your transport, recreation, shopping, and all the other expenses. And let's say it adds up to like 15,000 a month. 15,000. And that's the end number you get from step 2, calculating monthly spend. And then step 3, right? So now that we know how much we spend, shucks, I spend 15,000 a month for that. How much do I make kaya? So we at least now we understand how much we've been spending currently. So it's just looking historically. Now, from the past, in my behavior the past month or in the past few months, it seems like I've been spending this way. And then you have that number, 15,000, and you have its breakdown, right? The cost per item multiplied by the quantity of times you do each. You have that number now, costs. The next step is about calculating your inflows. So you're done with outflows, next is inflows. And here, you just have to ask yourself, how much do you receive from the different sources of income you may have, right? Most of you guys for sure would have income from allowance right now. Some who are taking internships, could be getting like intern salaries or intern allowances. Some might be doing side hustles, right? It's like selling goods, investing as well. There's cash flow coming out of it, and all the other sources. And then you have the estimated amount for each, and you add them up, right? So that's the next step. And then you have that number. How much do you get an income per month? Let's say it's at 12,000, and you put that you're getting 3,000 more from your parents, right? Because 15,000 in costs, yeah. Then that's something you'd have to adjust. But let's say it's at 20,000 and you see it's 15,000 in spend, then you say, okay, I'm actually saving like 5,000 a month right now. Well, from this analysis, you just have to see, is that where you want to be? Where you are now, is that where you want to be? And that's step 4. Step 4 is asking yourself this simple question. Out of my monthly income, right, I want to spend X percent and invest Y percent of my total inflows. And as you ask yourself that question, it helps you put a certain goal. It's a simple goal, but that's all you need there. If you answer that and say, maybe I want to spend 60%, I'll cut it there and invest the remaining 40%. Para I'm gaining like 8,000 a month, right? So let's say your income's like 20,000 and you say, I want to spend 60%, which is 12,000, but 12,000 spending and 8,000 for investment, right? Then you realize, what do you have to do? You have to adjust your amounts. So the blurb there is wrong, but you have to adjust the amounts to make sure that the 15,000 you're spending right now is adjusted to 12,000. So you have to find somewhere out there in your spending a 3,000 peso amount that you would have to slash off. Maybe I'll shop 500 pesos less, or shop 1 times less, right? I'll shop still 4 times a month, but then I'll put myself a budget of 300 pesos. So I'll save 800 pesos in that simple calculation. And then, maybe I'll spend just 80 pesos for each meal, right? Saving 20 per meal, saving 400 in total. So just solve those adjustments. And if you add it up and you're near there, like, oh, now I've hit 12,000, then you're done. You're complete about the whole structuring and planning phase. And the real battle comes, right? You have to be able to actualize your goals and say that, when the next month comes, so I'll really make sure that I'll spend less. I won't purchase that C2 bottle. When I go to Shopee or Lazada, I'll lower my increment, right? Like my shopping cart. So that's it in a nutshell. The 5 steps of managing finances. 3D, I'll have 3D come in now, who will go through the 5 items with us. Again. So let's begin. Hey, so 3D, I'll go you through, ask you some questions, and let's go through the whole process of the 5 simple steps, right? And let's just see how simple it is. The first step is that identifying the cost buckets. And what may those be for you?
I guess I'd like to go back to pre-pandemic, because I think I remember those way more clearly than my spending now. I don't really spend that much kasi now, so
Yeah,
I'd like to go to the numbers. They're more relevant in my opinion, in case things go back to normal. So my cost buckets, when I was a VP in JMA last year, I'd spend on drinking, of course. Drinking in JMA. Gas. Me and my twin brother would split on our gas for our car. So bring a car. Food. Buying food in UP. I don't baon. So I eat like once or twice in UP.
Normal.
I guess the weekly splurge at the end, drinking aside, I'd like to splurge on myself just to celebrate the Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And what actually gets me, what I actually spend on to weekly that I don't really pay much attention to, is, how organizations have these fundraising initiatives, like selling flowers, especially with flowers.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for flowers just because it makes people happy. I'm willing to spend on it, and I tend to spend a lot on it, I guess. But it's not as frequent. It's just that when it happens, I spend a lot.
No, that's good. You're a flower guy, yeah?
Yeah. So those are my biggest cost buckets, I believe.
Okay. Sure. Then we can go through these 4. Maybe go into the second step, right? Now that we know these 4 buckets, how much, I guess, would you spend monthly on each? Let's start with a simple one. Transpo.
Gas.
Gas.
I like to fill up my tank, I think 500 a week if I'm not traveling too far. So Me and RD would have it. So I guess 250 a week. So around 1,000 in a month.
Fair. So that's around 1,000 pesos. And then for food,
Oh, for food, I mean, okay, usually it's econ food. I can spend 100, 120 with a drink. I guess that's 150. But then I tend to snack in the middle. So that's 150 per meal. And I eat twice. But I tend to snack in between, when the co-op was still there, I'd spend
yeah,
an additional 50 pesos a day just buying small stuff.
grabbing some of those snacks.
Yeah. So
And you'd eat regularly, right? Or would you also like go out and spend, I guess, more than 150 on some days? Like if you go out with JMA to Maginhawa to UP Town.
or my friends or going in the middle of class, going to up, we'd go there, drink a little, eat a little, then go back to class. Yeah.
Yep. We know that.
So I guess I have to calculate the weekly siguro muna before monthly.
Correct.
Weekly. So in a day, let's say 150 times 2, I eat twice, 300 extra snacks, 350.
Mm-hmm.
350 times I guess 5 days. That's 1,750. And then there's that day when I spend on more than when you go out with friends. So I'd give it an extra 300.
Got it. An extra 300. So you'd spend around 2,000 a week. 2,050.
Whoa, I spend too much. I guess 300 is 300 too much. Well, it depends.
Oh, let's see what happens after the pandemic. But now that you're thinking about it, maybe
no, because
we'll see how we can shave it off. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know my weekly allowance you say. So okay. Yeah, 2,050-ish.
So you want to make any adjustments? So you mentioned it's 150 and you eat 2 meals, so that's 300. Plus your 50 and a snack. 350 times 5, you're right. That's 1,750. Very accurate naman yan.
Yeah. I guess I could lower the... I mean, okay, based on my experience, if I don't have money, I'm not gonna spend it. So, mga siguro 250 na lang yung on myself. Just to make it a round number of 2,000.
Got it. So this is all good practice. So you have 1,000 for gas a month, 2,000 for food per week. That means you spend 8,000 a month. We're rounding off some numbers here. Normally, when you round it off, if you do it per week, I just multiply by 4.5 to get the month. But it's okay, no? So we have 1,000 for gas and 8,000 for food. You mentioned for fundraisers, would you have a certain budget how much you'd spend?
More or less, it depends on how much money I have in my wallet. Because if I look and see that I don't have that much, I wouldn't. I either spend on that day only, and then try to cut down my expenses on the week after, or I don't spend that much. Like I just spend like 150 or 200 on that fundraiser. So 150, I think. 150.
Let's average it down to that 150, and then 4 times in a month, so 600 pesos for that.
I wouldn't.
Let's go to the
4 times, so mga twice, because it's not as frequent.
So you wouldn't, yeah, of course, you wouldn't buy flour. Kala ko, marami kang
Not every week. I mean, every other, like.
So I think that's fair. So twice a month, generally. So it's around 300 pesos that you put into that. It's okay. Let's go to your last bucket and drinks.
I guess drinking. A beer would be like what, 50 pesos?
50 is.
And I cap it off to like 2 to 3. So
2 to 3 per day.
No, per week.
I'm kidding you. Yeah. So 2 to 3.
I try not to drink a lot, and when it comes to JMA naman, may mga manlilibre naman. May mga manlilibre na hindi mo na kailangan mag-ambag eh.
So I remember those days, yeah.
Or for you, your personal, I think 100 to 150.
Got it. Okay. Now let's give you a bit more budget for your drinking. So let's say 150
Yeah.
times the 4 weeks. Let's just round it down to 4. So that's 600 pesos, right? So you add it up. You have 1,000 to gas, 8,000 to food. You have 300 to fundraisers, and you have 600 to drinking. How much would that be?
You tell me, dude.
Let's go.
1,000 plus 8,000 plus 600 plus 300.
Yep.
That's 99.
Perfect. 99. So you have 99 budget, a shave before the 10,000 figure, and we move to step 3. Right? How's your allowances?
this where actually budgeting really helps, because like what I see. Well, look at this. It's I only have a weekly allowance. That's actually where all my money comes from. Of 2,500.
No, it hits perfectly though. So that means you've been like spending exactly how much you're getting.
Yeah, I guess.
You're getting a pretty generous allowance for.
Yeah, it's actually pretty generous. I tried to tell Tatay na I don't need as much, but he insists. And then my nanay insists that I save a part of it. Like, she always bugs me that save a part of your allowance to go to the bank. Do you want me to take it out kaagad? And I'm like, nah, I got this. I can save on my own. But apparently not.
Nah. You're still having a good time as well, naman. I remember back then as well. But let's see where we can get now, based on these numbers. So you just finished where we are. We know you spent around 9,900 on those 4 buckets. Your inflow is 10K, and so you have a bit of 99% spending. It's hitting head against head. So if you were to set your goal, how much would you want to adjust? And try to answer that question. How much you want to spend? How much you want to invest? At this time in your life.
I guess I do want to spend at least 30 to 40% of it.
Wow. Big shift, right? Due to COVID, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, my bank accounts are moving, and my parents can't live forever. I might as well start saving on myself. Just so that's safety.
Is it nowadays you'd say you spend less?
Oh, I spend a lot less. Oh, well, my allowance is significantly reduced because, why would you need allowance? But again, my family...
You eat at home, yeah.
Yeah, family's generous. I don't know why. So I think the spending would only... I actually just spent the other day because I realized I was getting money. I mean, I save it naman. But I don't want... Sometimes you want to treat your family to new food that you want to introduce. So you spend your allowance on that. And aside from that, I spend 50 pesos a week lang on this mobile game. That's it.
No, that's good. But yeah, let's go with that assumption, right? Let's say you want to spend 40% right now and invest 60. Again, I want to put 2 caveats to this whole process. The first one is you need to do this kind of setting the goal. It's a monthly or iterative process, wherein you'd have to say, okay, maybe in 3 months from now, my spending pattern will change, right? Or I'll get more income then, so I can change a bit of my pattern. It's not like you said it once and it's stuck in stone. You keep moving, and make sure maybe at least every 3 months you adjust based on, or at least every year you adjust based on how your life changes, right? So, and the second caveat is the simple one that it's COVID right now, and as people study from home, work from home, we tend to save more, hopefully without shopping as much in e-commerce.
Yeah.
And you can actually change your whole goal in this time, and I guess that's why you set it at 30-40% of spending, we're at with 60% at investing, right? So moving to the last part, right? wherein you know that where you are right now is this is 99% spending, 1% saving. Um, and then your goal, where you want to be, is 40% spending, 60% investing. We just have to make the adjustments. And I wouldn't go right now into a whole discussion because I think everyone would know what you're doing. You're just basically slashing your budget on food because you get to eat at home. Maybe you splurge one item of like 500, 700 pesos to like, or 1,000 pesos to treat the family. And so maybe that's the simple solution, but that's the next step talaga. If it's a normal process, you just have to solve, okay, how do I slash the remaining X%? Maybe I reduce my food intake to like 1 meal a day instead of 2 meals a day. Or turn my snack into a 50 peso snack into a 20 peso snack, right? Or like I'll have to buy less flowers
Or drink less.
or drink less 30.
An option though.
Yeah.
JMA is an option.
Exactly. But that's a simple way. 5 steps into how to manage your finance and break down the question of how can I plan how much I'll be spending, how much I'll be saving and investing. Simple 5 steps for you. And hopefully, GMAers who've listened to this will find this useful.
All right.